My award-winning actress wife of 3 years suddenly developed mind-reading abilities, unbeknownst to me. In an effort to reunite her with her first love, I was still trying to play the role of the villainous husband. On the surface, I refused to divorce. You two won't rekindle your old flame in this lifetime, I declared, while internally cursing. I've nearly driven your first love mad. Just sign the divorce papers already. I'm waiting to collect the £100 million settlement after wrapping up this film to buy my yacht. However, the actress didn't follow the script. After she revealed our relationship to the media, I found myself trending on Twitter that very night. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. On set during filming, I deliberately pushed Alice Brown's first love, Simon Chaplin, into the water. This upset her terribly, and she rushed him to the hospital right away. According to the script, she was supposed to divorce me tonight. Then she would coldly throw £10 million in separation money in my face, telling me to get out of their sight forever. As my role was about to wrap up, I struggled to hold back a laugh. The moment I pushed open the door to Alice's office, I crossed my arms and tilted my nose up, putting on an arrogant, provocative demeanor. Is Simon dead yet? I asked. Alice looked up at me impatiently. I felt a surge of glee inside. Ha! You're furious, aren't you? I'm so wicked. Why don't you hurry up and throw the divorce papers and that £10 million black card in my face and tell me to get lost? He just caught a chill. He'll be fine after taking some medicine, Alice replied nonchalantly. Her indifferent response annoyed me. Is this how a female boss acts when she wants a divorce? I kicked and shattered her most treasured vase, deliberately adding fuel to the fire. As if that lowlife Simon could ever steal my wife. It's nothing but a pipe dream. I'll never divorce you. You two will never rekindle your old flame in this lifetime. But inside I was thinking, I've insulted your first love like this. Why aren't you yelling at me? Come on. Throw that dirty money in my face now. To my surprise, Alice showed no anger at all. She just stared at me with amusement and said, Don't worry, darling. I haven't prepared any black card, and I'm certainly not planning to divorce you. What? I froze in shock. What do you mean, no divorce? Am I not wicked enough? This can't be right. I've been causing trouble exactly as it was written in the script. Just as I was confused by this unexpected turn of events, I suddenly felt a warm embrace from behind. Alice hugged me and said sweetly, Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary. I'll come home for dinner with you tonight, so make sure you tidy up nicely. What's the point of packing? I'm just a minor character in this book, a disposable side role. Simon Chaplin is your destined male lead. 3 years ago, I sneezed my way into this cliché romance novel about a domineering CEO. I became Alice Brown's villainous ex-husband. My daily task was to make things difficult for the male lead and throw obstacles in the path of the main couple's reunion. To get my £100 million divorce settlement and wrap up my role as soon as possible, I diligently followed the plot every day. It was going well at first. He ran, she chased, neither of them could escape. Until 6 months ago when Alice Brown had a car accident. Everything became strange after that. Alice tore up all the photos of her and her first love, and was cold towards Simon Chaplin, who had just returned to the country. I wondered if I wasn't playing the villainous male supporting role convincingly enough, if the male lead wasn't pitiful enough to win back Alice's heart. So whenever there was a scene targeting Simon, I put in extra effort, trying to be as ruthless as possible. As a result, Simon was miserable, but Alice remained unmoved. I racked my brains trying to figure out what had gone wrong. Darling, you've been hiding in the bathroom for an hour now. If you don't come out, I'm coming in. Alice's playful voice came from outside the door. I shuddered as I cowered in the bathtub. Weren't you supposed to stay chaste for Simon? Candlelit dinner, stockings, nurse outfit. What is she planning with all this at home? Although Alice has a killer body and a face that suits my taste perfectly, this isn't supposed to be that kind of novel. I'll count to 3. 1, 2. At 2.97 seconds, I tremblingly opened the bathroom door. Alice pinned me against the white wall, her hand naturally resting on my shoulder. I was cursing internally in panic. Alice frowned slightly, pressing her finger to my lips. "Hush! Don't ruin the mood." Just as I was about to push her away, Alice's phone rang. She ignored it completely, still trying to unbutton my shirt. It was my quick glance that caught Simon's name on the caller ID. Immediately, I channeled my inner villain, pushed Alice away, and snarled through gritted teeth. "Why is Simon calling you so late?" "Oh, thank God. The male lead saved me." On the other end of the line, Simon coughed lightly, his weak voice barely audible, as if a gentle breeze could blow it away. "Alice, I'm so lonely here in the hospital. Could you come and keep me company?" "I'm afraid that's not possible tonight." Alice Brown's cold attitude made me wince just hearing it. Simon had been trying to win her back since he returned to England, but it seemed he hadn't made any progress at all. "Alice, I know you hate me and resent me for choosing to study abroad and leaving you behind, but you're the only one I can rely on here." Alice looked up at me. I averted my gaze guiltily, pretending I hadn't heard anything. After all, giving the main characters some privacy was part of my duty as a professional supporting actor. To my surprise, Alice smiled and flatly refused. "It's too late to go out now. My husband would get jealous. If you're really bored, I can send some nurses to keep you company." I couldn't care less about being jealous. "I hope you two make up and get back together soon, so you'll stop bothering me. I don't even get paid overtime for this, you know?" I grumbled inwardly. Suddenly, Alice stood on her tiptoes and bit my neck hard. Couldn't help but hiss in pain. Unfortunately, Simon heard it and cautiously asked, "Alice, are you with Frank right now?" Alice released her bite and stared at me with a warning look in her eyes. She replied impatiently, "Of course I'm with my husband. Isn't that normal, Mr. Chaplin? Don't you know it's very impolite to call a married woman in the middle of the night?" "Alice, have you really forgotten about me? About our past? You said you'd only love me for the rest of your life." Simon's voice was slightly hoarse, and even I was moved by it. To my surprise, Alice coldly responded, "Let the past stay in the past." Then she hung up the phone. I was dumbfounded. My mind was in chaos, as if 1,000 wild horses were galloping through it. Are these two really going to break up? This isn't how the story is supposed to go. You two should reconcile and then team up to drive me away. I anxiously asked Alice Brown with caution. "Are you really not going to the hospital to stay with Simon?" She nuzzled her head against me and pouted playfully. "Of course not. You're my husband. Why would I go out to accompany another man? From now on, I'll only cherish and love you. Is that all right?" I forced a smile. "All right? All right, my foot. I don't have that many lines. If you want to add scenes, you'll have to pay more." Alice pressed her body against mine once again. Her fiery gaze seemed to melt me. I fearfully backed away, but she advanced step by step until she had me cornered. "Darling, shouldn't we continue?" "Continue what?" I swallowed hard, my eyes involuntarily glancing downward. This woman is usually quite cold, isn't she? To think that a handsome bloke like me with a six-pack has been lying next to her for 3 years without any reaction. Why has she suddenly gone mad tonight? Alice's face darkened instantly. She grabbed my wrist, forcefully placing my hand on her waist, and complained through gritted teeth. "Of course, I'm fulfilling my duties as a wife, lest someone accuse me of being frigid behind my back." I was startled. If I hadn't had a god's eye view before being transported into this book, knowing that Alice was just an ordinary domineering female CEO character without any special abilities beyond her wealth, I would have thought she could read minds. I smiled nervously, deliberately changing the subject. "Love, didn't the doctor say you should rest more? Does your head still hurt?" Inwardly, I pondered, "I see. It must be that car accident 6 months ago. It must have addled her brain." Perhaps when she fully recovers, the deviated plot will return to its proper course. I silently reassured myself. Alice, however, was not deterred at all. She quickly undid her buttons. The moment her skin touched mine, I exclaimed in refusal, "No! A man is saying no? Do you understand? Really, we can't," I said weakly, my face turning red. "My back's been hurting lately. I can't engage in vigorous activity." Taking advantage of her momentary bewilderment, I hurriedly escaped to the bathroom. That night, I lay in bed, fantasizing all night without sleeping. What a shame. Why did my back have to hurt at this particular moment? Otherwise, I could have at least collected some interest from her. The next day, Alice Brown's heavy panda eyes startled me. She glared at me angrily and warned, "Don't let your mind wander when you're sleeping from now on." I was completely baffled. What? Did she not sleep well either? I arrived at the film set and saw Simon Chaplin, who had already been there for a while. His frail appearance, covering his mouth with a light cough, made the director feel terribly sorry for him. "Mr. Chaplin is still ill. Let's shoot the slapping scene from an angle later." To everyone's surprise, this stubborn lad insisted on shooting it for real. "I'm fine. Acting requires dedication. We can't let the whole crew suffer because of my personal issues." The director gave him a thumbs up, praising him as a dedicated actor. Simon smugly whispered to me, challenging, "Mr. Joan, don't you dare hold back when it's time. Unnecessary. Completely unnecessary." He didn't need to provoke me at all. I was even more eager to finish the scene than he was. I flexed my wrist, catching sight of Alice Brown, who had come to supervise. Immediately, I perked up, expertly putting on a vicious expression. I raised my hand and slapped Simon the moment he finished his line. He promptly fell to the ground. Blimey, that's some cooperation. I hadn't even touched him, and he fell down on his own. If that's how he's going to act, I'm getting excited. I quickly called for a halt to the filming and improvised, "Director, I think Simon fainted from my slap." Everyone rushed over to check on Simon's condition. Alice Brown, responding to the director's pleading look, helped Simon up, preparing to take him to the hospital. But at that moment, Simon regained consciousness. Struggling to maintain his kind persona, he was afraid Alice would blame me and quickly tried to exonerate me. "Don't blame Frank. I just tripped and fell." I immediately added fuel to the fire, volunteering to take the blame. "No, I did it on purpose, and I thoughtfully provided the most reasonable explanation for my cruelty. That slap was to remind you that Alice Brown is not someone you can fantasize about." Simon bit his lower lip hard, turning his face away with a look of grievance. Who wouldn't feel sorry for such a fragile appearance? But without me, the vicious supporting actor, to play off of, his acting skills would be quite ordinary. I voluntarily take on the blame, willingly bear the criticism. I ask you, which vicious supporting actor could be more professional than me? I'm the next Oscar-winning actor. Oh ho ho! Just as I was gloating internally, Alice Brown poured a bucket of cold water over both Simon and me. She revealed expressionlessly, "The slapping scene just now looked too fake. Frank didn't even touch your face. Since you're fine, let's reshoot this scene." I was stunned. Simon Chaplin was stunned too. All the crew members on set were frozen in place. At this moment, only the director stepped forward to support Alice Brown's words. "That's right, I just saw it with Alice in front of the camera. That scene did look a bit fake." Exposed, the two of us stood there awkwardly, one digging at the ground with his toes, the other too ashamed to lift his head. We had to reshoot the slapping scene. Simon took a solid slap from me, his cheek immediately swelling and turning red. He turned his head away, glaring at me fiercely. I mumbled guiltily under my breath, "If you want to blame someone, blame Alice. We were cooperating just fine until she came and ruined it." "I'm sorry, Mr. Joan, your voice was too low. I couldn't hear you clearly." "Ahem, I was saying that you don't mean much to Alice anymore." She told me just yesterday that from now on she'll only love me. So I advise you to give up on her as soon as possible. I deliberately said these things to provoke him. Sure enough, Simon immediately took action. During the following filming, he kept trying to stick close to Alice. He even bribed the director to deliberately increase the romantic scenes between them. He was determined to make Alice remember the sweetness of their first love. I rarely had free time, but I intentionally found all sorts of excuses to escape the set, leaving the lead couple alone. Just as I was having a drink at a nightclub with my arm around a girl, my agent called me in a panic. "How did you end up being criticized on Twitter again?" I sobered up instantly. I quickly opened Twitter. Well, what do you know? There it was. The trending topic read, "Jealous Frank Jones slaps film star's first love twice out of envy." Apparently, someone had maliciously edited and hyped up the video of me slapping Simon on set and mouthing off. Seeing the video views skyrocketing past 3 million and still climbing, I finally relaxed. Thank goodness. I was worried Alice might interfere at the last minute and Simon wouldn't be able to properly discredit me. What? You were worried Simon wouldn't discredit you? My agent barely held back from cursing. Fine, fine. I give up. Keep digging your own grave. You're about to completely ruin yourself. Emboldened by the alcohol, I chuckled. I'll take that as a good omen. Once I've successfully ruined my reputation and wrapped up filming, I'll definitely give you a big bonus. My agent was speechless. Thanks a lot. Looking back on these 3 years since I found myself in this story, I've gone to great lengths to maintain my image as Alice Brown's devoted follower. Wherever Alice went to film, I joined that production. Whatever TV show Alice appeared on, I'd tag along like a lost puppy, serving as her background prop. All that groundwork was laid for this very moment when the internet would turn against me. After all, the story said that I, the disposable ex-husband, would ultimately be driven out of the entertainment industry by online hate, then angrily disappear with the £10 million settlement from divorcing Alice to live a lavish bachelor lifestyle. Although there's been a slight hiccup and we haven't divorced smoothly yet, being disgraced and forced to quit showbiz should at least speed up my exit from this storyline. I opened the comments section, watching the flood of insults directed at me. It felt like gold coins raining down on my face. Elated, I threw an arm around my sister and made a grand promise. Stick with your brother from now on. Once I get that settlement, I'll give you a cool million. How's that sound? We partied hard until the wee hours. In the end, it was the waiter who called me a cab home. To my surprise, Alice was waiting for me downstairs. She saw me stumble drunkenly out of the taxi. Barely containing her anger, she dragged me into a corner and demanded, "Don't tell me you went out drinking because you were upset about the online hate." I clung tightly to my meal ticket Alice's leg, complaining bitterly. "I was drowning my sorrows all right, but I'm upset that you still won't divorce me. I've got the yacht and fancy car all ready to go, just waiting on those divorce papers and that £10 million to hit my account." Alice grabbed my shoulders, gritting out, "What did you just say? Say that again." I let out a drunken hiccup, then passed out cold. The next morning, I woke up to find Alice Brown had vanished. I couldn't care less where she'd gone. I leapt out of bed, buzzing with excitement. Opening Twitter, I saw the top trending topic, "Say an ode to simps. Frank Jones should be banned from showbiz forever." Amidst the furious tweets from haters, there were also some paid PR accounts trying to salvage my reputation, hired by my agent. But at this point, nothing could stop me from courting controversy. I grabbed my phone and fired off 3 provocative tweets in quick succession. That's right, I slapped Simon Chaplin on purpose. He dared to fancy the woman I've got my eye on, so he had to pay the price. So what if Alice Brown doesn't like me? I'll keep her all to myself anyway. If Simon Chaplin dares to pursue Alice Brown again, I won't let him off so easily. Every word was designed to push the public's buttons. Even my agent had given up on me. "You're beyond help. Just fade into obscurity already." I sent her a reassuring message. It's no big deal if I get hounded out of the industry. I'll pay whatever termination fees are necessary, plus a generous bonus for you. Consider it my way of apologizing for wasting all your years of hard work." After a long while, my agent finally replied, and she was frantically trying to get my attention. "No! Frank, you've hit the jackpot. Quick, look at Alice Brown's Twitter. She's just officially announced your relationship and posted your marriage certificate." "What?" I hurriedly opened her profile page. 5 minutes ago, Alice Brown had publicly shared our wedding photo with the caption, "My husband loves me so much that he spoke out of turn on a public platform. I kindly ask the fans for their understanding. Also, I request Mr. Chaplin to show some restraint, as I am a married woman after all." Instantly, the internet exploded. No one could believe that Alice Brown, the passionate actress who once said in an interview that she could never forget Simon Chaplin, would marry a nobody like me, and that she would publicly distance herself from Simon Chaplin to protect me. So Frank Joan isn't the homewrecker after all? It's Simon Chaplin? Blimey, we've been criticizing the wrong person all this time. Turns out Simon Chaplin is the most manipulative one. So when Frank Joan posted that angry tweet about Simon Chaplin earlier, it wasn't because he's mental, but because his wife was making a public statement? I'm shocked. I stared at the suddenly changing comments section, completely baffled. This plot wasn't in the script at all. I quickly called Alice Brown, but she hung up and sent me a message saying, "In a meeting." Without wasting a moment, I grabbed my briefcase and rushed to her office. She was working at her desk and raised an eyebrow as she looked at me. "No need to be so moved. This is just my duty as a wife." Panting heavily, I glared at her, cursing internally. "Moved my foot. I want a divorce. A divorce. How could you publicly announce our marriage without asking for my opinion?" My slightly disgruntled voice made Alice Brown frown, but her voice remained as gentle as ever. "What's wrong, darling? Isn't this what you've always wanted?" I was left speechless by her response. Indeed, that's what I said when I was fawning over her. But that was all an act for my public image. Alice Brown put down her pen, stood up and walked over to me. She gently wiped the sweat from the tip of my nose with her finger. She lowered her stance and coaxed me. "Ever since we got married, you've been the only one making efforts. It's been 3 years, even a stone would have melted by now. From now on, I'll keep a close eye on you, love you properly, and not let any other woman have a chance. How's that?" I smiled insincerely. "Really, darling? I'm so happy." In my mind, I thought, I'm about to die from happiness. What's going on with this ridiculous plot? It's going to be the death of me. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the door. The office door was suddenly pushed open from the outside. The first person to burst in was Simon Chaplin, seething with anger, followed closely by 2 building security guards. "We couldn't stop this gentleman," he insisted on coming up. One of them explained. Seeing Alice Brown's icy stare, Simon desperately questioned her. "Alice, why won't you see me?" Sensing the tension, I tactfully escorted the security guards out, thoughtfully closing the door to give the 2 some privacy. Concerned about how things might unfold, I quietly cracked open the door to eavesdrop on their conversation. Alice's attitude remained cold. "Mr. Chaplin, do you have business with me?" I couldn't help but tisk-tisk to myself. It seems Alice has truly lost her senses after that bump on the head. She's not even giving the time of day to her destined love interest. Simon slammed his fist on the desk, radiating unbridled fury. "Alice, why are you doing this to me? Don't you realize that because of your statement, my career since returning to England has been completely ruined? The Alice I knew would never do anything to hurt me." "Mr. Chaplin," Alice icily cut him off, "I've already been considerate of our past relationship. Otherwise, just for you deliberately paying trolls on Twitter to spread rumors about my husband, I wouldn't let you off so easily. It wasn't me, Alice. We've known each other for 8 years and been together for 2. Don't you trust me?" Simon was still stubbornly denying it, refusing to admit his wrongdoing. I know what's happening. It must be Frank trying to drive a wedge between us. Everyone knows he's always been jealous of me and working against me. Alice, please don't let him fool you. Hidden behind the door, I nervously peered through the crack. Logically, the female CEO in the story should blindly believe the male lead. But with Alice, things seemed to have changed. I vaguely saw the black card, which should have been thrown in my face, being tossed in front of Simon instead. She said, "There's enough money in here for you to spend the rest of your life abroad. From now on, don't ever appear in front of Frank or me again." I was dumbfounded. Wasn't that Alice's line when she divorced me? How did it end up being used on Simon? And that black card worth £10 million was supposed to be my rightful compensation. How did Simon get it instead? Alice, you don't say anything more. Let's leave each other with some dignity. Then Simon was ushered out. I didn't escape in time and was caught red-handed by him. His eyes, red with fury, glared at me accusingly for stealing his woman, while I glared back at him just as fiercely, blaming him for taking my money. "Frank, you've won," Simon said, snapping the black credit card in half right in front of me. At that moment, my heart was bleeding. Thinking back on these 3 years since I'd stumbled into this story, whenever I was about to give up, the £10 million breakup fee was what kept me going. But now that money had gone to Simon, and he didn't even appreciate the fruits of someone else's labor. With trembling hands, I carefully picked up the broken black card from the ground, fighting back tears. Would this even work anymore? Before I could recover from the grief of losing £10 million, Simon's fist came flying towards my handsome face. This ignited my fury. We fought from the office all the way down to the street below. Fists flew, neither of us holding back. It only ended when my left arm was dislocated and he had broken a rib, landing us both in hospital. Seeing Alice Brown tenderly caring for me, Simon's heart turned cold. As he was slinking away from the hospital, I called out to him, my face grave as I proposed, "Wait, I think it's time we joined forces." Simon hesitated, confused. I sighed deeply, clutching the half of the black card tightly as I made my decision. All this time, I believed that if I just followed the plot carefully, I could make it to the end, I said. But I never imagined the story would go so far off course. If we don't intervene and bring it back to the main plot, I'm afraid we're doomed. After all, Simon and I were always meant to be on the same side. He wants the girl, I want the money. Our goals are clear and aligned. If we work together, I believe we can definitely reach the grand finale. That evening, Alice Brown received news that Frank Joan and Simon Chaplin had both been kidnapped. The kidnappers demanded a £10 million ransom for their release. In truth, this was all part of an elaborate plan concocted by Frank and Simon. Frank sat casually on a rocky outcrop by the sea, munching on an apple. He glanced at Simon, who was visibly nervous beside him. "So, has Alice agreed to pay the ransom?" "Yes, she's on her way with the money," Simon replied, still eyeing Frank warily. "Are you sure this will work? Do you have any better ideas to win Alice back?" Frank retorted, leaving Simon speechless. Frank knew Simon didn't entirely trust him, but he also knew Simon was out of options when it came to Alice. He had no choice but to follow Frank's plan and hope for the best. Tossing away the apple core, Frank patted Simon's shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry, mate. If everything goes according to plan, Alice will be back in your arms in no time." "Why are you helping me?" Simon asked suspiciously. "I'm not helping you, I'm helping myself," Frank replied cryptically. Soon enough, Alice arrived at the designated spot. Frank and Simon were tied up by the kidnappers, perched precariously on the edge of a cliff overlooking the sea. In the darkness, Alice anxiously tossed a card to the kidnapper. "I've brought the money. Can you release them now?" Frank gave a subtle nod to the kidnapper, who pocketed the card and recited her rehearsed lines. "Miss Brown, £10 million can only save one person. Will you choose your first love or this lovesick fool? You have 2 minutes to decide. or I'll push them both off the cliff. Are you mocking me? The kidnapper was startled by Alice Brown's icy demeanor. It was only after I desperately reminded her that she came to her senses. Ha, isn't this the underhanded tactic Miss Brown often uses in business wars? I'm merely putting what I've learned into practice. Well done, perfectly explaining the kidnapper's identity and intentions. Next, it was Simon Chaplin's turn to perform. Alice, save Frank. I know you no longer have feelings for me. If that's the case, I might as well die. I must say, Simon's acting was quite on point, frail yet stubborn, with a touch of passion in his obstinacy. He made a heartfelt confession to Alice Brown. I only hope that after I'm gone, you'll remember me forever. The kidnapper nudged me discreetly, signaling it was my turn to give my last words. But I hadn't prepared any lines at all. Seeing this, the kidnapper had no choice but to continue speaking. So, Miss Brown, have you decided who should die? I want both of them to live. Alice Brown refused to back down, but her eyes remained anxiously fixed on me. It seemed that if we dragged this out any longer, she would choose Simon to die. To prevent this from happening, I deliberately pretended to slip, my body falling straight off the cliff. In the howling sea wind, I faintly heard Alice Brown's heart-wrenching cry, "Frank!" Seawater rushed into my nose and ears. My body was slowly sinking. Then I broke free from the ropes and, under the cover of night, swam frantically 5 kilometers back to shore. I collapsed on the beach, looking up at the sky and letting out a long howl. Woohoo! I finally wrapped up and logged off. Yacht, luxury car. Girls, here I come for my swanky retirement life. Since I faked my death and went off the grid, I've been living the enviable life of a single millionaire that every man dreams of. After withdrawing the money, I immediately bought a yacht and decided to sail around the Atlantic. I also gave my sister £1 million as promised. My sister, who was the kidnapper I hastily recruited as an extra that night, handed me a glass of champagne with a worried look. Do you think Ms. Brown will find us? I took a sip of champagne, squinting my eyes in pretend sleep, and reassured her, don't worry, we're in the middle of the Atlantic. Even if Alice Brown had supernatural powers, she couldn't possibly find us. Just as I started to gloat, there was a loud bang. I was jolted right off my chair. I took off my sunglasses and looked around frantically. What's happening? Are we hitting a reef? Is the yacht sinking? My sister timidly pointed out, Ms. Brown, she's caught up with us. I followed her finger and saw Alice Brown standing on another yacht, staring at me intently. Her gaze sent chills down my spine. Bloody hell, Alice Brown really did track us down. This can't be real. I'm supposed to be dead. Did Simon Chaplin expose my whereabouts? The yacht was forcibly stopped, and Alice Brown grabbed my arm, dragging me back with her. For the past 2 days on the journey, she hadn't spoken a word to me. Her pent-up anger terrified me into cowering in a corner, not daring to speak. Internally, I was desperately searching for a way out. Maybe I should just deny being Frank Joan and claim to be a stranger who happens to look exactly like him? Sod it. I'll just pretend I don't know her at all. I licked my dry lips, about to speak, when Alice Brown beat me to it. Are you planning to deny being Frank Joan and pretend you don't know me? Bloody hell, how did she know? Alice Brown glared at me and sneered. Actually, after that car accident 6 months ago, I gained the ability to read minds. And, stop cursing me in your head right now. I didn't believe her and tried testing her in my mind. Alice Brown is a complete nutter. She slammed her palm on the table, her face dark with anger, and snarled, I told you to stop insulting me in your head. I'm done for, mates. Can someone tell me why an ordinary female CEO in this book suddenly developed mind-reading abilities after a car accident? And she's been sneakily listening to my inner thoughts for half a year. So all those times I cursed her in my mind, she heard everything. No wonder the plot has gone so off track. It's truly terrifying when you think about it. Alice Brown stared into my eyes, and I was afraid she'd hear my thoughts again. So I quickly started reciting Shakespeare sonnets. I kept repeating them until the 39th time when Alice couldn't take it anymore. She stepped forward, pinning me against the white wall, and angrily demanded, "Why did you deceive me? Do you want to leave my side that badly?" "Enough, Frank." I blinked, feigning innocence. But according to the book's plot, I should have been written off by now. Besides, Simon is your destined lover. How could I, a villainous supporting character, truly compete with the male lead for the woman? Alice bit her red lips in frustration. "I don't care if this is a book or the real world. You're the one I love, not Simon." "But." "No buts. Even if the sky falls, there's always someone taller to hold it up. What are you afraid of?" "But Simon's here. He's standing right behind you. It's not very nice to confess to me so forcefully like this." Alice slowly released me and turned around. Simon stood in the doorway wearing a white suit. His face was pale, and his first reaction after being exposed was to shift the blame onto me. "Alice, let me explain. I didn't plan the fake death. The mastermind behind it was actually—" "I know you weren't the mastermind," she interrupted. He tried to force a smile. "So, you still blame me, don't you?" "I don't blame you," Alice said. Alice lowered her eyelids, her long lashes casting shadows on her face. She continued with resignation, "Simon, why don't you understand? It's been over between us for a long time. Ever since my car accident 6 months ago, I've had the ability to read Frank Jones' mind. It was then that I discovered I was merely a fictional character in a book. I was created for the sole purpose of falling in love with you. What to do when, what to say at which moment. My life had been predetermined from the moment I was born. None of this really bothered me. What I cared about was always you, Simon Chaplin. I heard Frank say that your purpose for studying abroad was to free up time to pursue other female characters. At first, I didn't believe it until I went abroad to find you myself. I saw you using the same methods, the same tactics to pursue one woman after another, just like you did with me. You were so happy, so carefree. You must have completely forgotten about me by then." Simon panicked and hurriedly explained, "Alice, it's not what you think. What I feel for them is different from what I feel for you. I truly love you." Alice Brown smiled and bit her red lip hard. "I admit I used to like you, but that was in the past. You should go now and never come back." "Alice." As the two were entangled, I inwardly panicked. Ah, so that's how it is. I indirectly caused the plot to deviate. The main characters have broken up. Will the world in the book collapse? Will I be completely erased? I fearfully rubbed the goosebumps on my arms. Seeing Simon throw out a cold and heartless line, "Fine, I'm leaving. Alice Brown, don't you dare regret this." Then he turned and left. I panicked and tried to slip away, but was quickly caught by Alice. I reflexively thought to myself, She gently cupped my face and warned in a low voice, "Darling, you'll never escape from my side in this lifetime." Epilogue. Simon truly never appeared again. I had been worried that failing my villainous task would result in being erased from this world. But I waited and waited, through the birth of our child, through nursery school, primary school, and secondary school, and nothing unusual happened. Alice retired from the entertainment industry and took me on our dream journey around the Pacific Ocean. Sitting at the bow of the ship, I mused inwardly. The plot has completely deviated. What if one day the child and I suddenly get pulled out of the book? How will Alice manage here alone? Suddenly, a warm embrace enveloped me from behind. Alice held me close, her lips brushing my ear. "Don't worry, darling. If the world resets again, I'll find a way to come back to you. What if it's not me next time? Then I'll wait and wait until it is you."